Good morning, everybody. Um, it's not going to be a super duper long session today, but it's not going to be a brief one either. But um, we're going to be discussing the death of the Pope. I want to put aside, though, any odd conspiracies about him already having been dead and it's a different person that I'm not worried about whether this is the real Pope that died. The office of the Pope is the issue at hand for me. So, for the sake of that, we're going to assume that the Pope himself recently died. Um, with that being the case, we're going to look at two things, three, technically three. Um, the first one we're going to look at is what does it mean for the selection of the next Pope. And I understand it doesn't really affect the body of Christ. I'm not saying it does, but I'll be getting to how it does affect the worldview of Christ in general. So we're going to look at what it takes to select the next Pope, who are the front runners, and then finally, um, how and if this particular position of the papacy is a legit one, how does the selection process match with the Bible? And I'll be bringing in some other individuals to prove too that they are not for the post that they're at as far as the church. Okay. So first, we're going to look at the selection process of what they do. That's the very first thing we're going to look at. Okay. And in the seeing of this selection process, I think what you're going to end up finding is um, it'll show to you that what they're doing is not a God-centric selection process. I mean, the office of the Pope isn't godly anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So let's take a gander at their selection process and how they go about doing it. All right. So we're going to see here. How is a new Pope chosen? Cardinals below the age of 80, when the Pope dies or resigns, vote in what is known as the Papal Conclave. To prevent outside influence, the conclave locks itself, sounds a little bit creepy, in the Sistine Chapel and deliberates on potential successors. I'm not going to go into necessarily how silly that sounds, first of all. I just want to find out, where did they come up with that process as being a God ordained one? I'm genuinely curious as to where they got that process from. Where can they show me that this was one that God put forth as how to pick a leader, one, but more importantly, where did this idea of Pope come from? And where can you show me that it's part of God's build for his body? Okay. Let me reject these cookies real quick. With the number of papal electors is typically capped at 120, there are currently 135 eligible voters. Its members cast their votes via secret ballots, a process overseen by 9 randomly selected cardinals. A 2/3 majority is traditionally required to elect the new Pope, and voting continues until this threshold is met. Again, I'm kind of confused as to how this makes any sense biblically, but we'll continue. And so they go into, this is all their cultish layout, and I'm going to be using terms like that to describe the Catholic Church. So if it's offending to you, oh well. Okay. After each round, the ballots are burned with chemicals. You know, the more I learn about the papacy and these people, the more I learn about them, the more disgusting I feel about them, the more angering it is that they're representing, or at least pretending to represent, God. That's the angering part of it, is that people genuinely believe that Catholics at all are Christians. Like, I don't understand how you can believe that in any way, shape, form, or fashion with this sort of nonsense at all. I don't understand this. You lock yourself away, sequestered away from what? I don't know. Ain't nobody care what you do over there. You already sequestered away from the public. Now you got to double sequester yourself because you're afraid of who gonna find out about the person you're picking. It's so stupid to me, but hey, again. And now you're burning ballots with chemicals, producing either black or white smoke, signaling to the world about the outcome. Like you can't just say, "Hey, we ain't picked yet." You could just use words. I don't know, like normal people. You could come out and say, "We ain't picked one yet." No, you got to do all this nonsensical, cultish behavior, burning black or white smoke. Heaven alone knows what chemicals you're using. Probably the same that made you as brain dead as you are. And yeah, trust me, throughout this entire thing I'm talking, I will be offensive in my description of them because they're worth offensive speech towards, because they're Satanist. I don't care if you're mad at that. They're disgusting Satanists. Nothing about the papacy makes any sense, and it's not godly, not even in the slightest. In no way at all are they godly. None of it. Put aside any of this idea of child trafficking and child abuse. Aside from all of that, the entirety of the Catholic Church makes zero sense when it comes to God. Not a lick of sense. None. It is one of the most ridiculous, stupid thing ever instituted by mankind. If I'm the only one to say it, so be it. So you blow in black or white smoke to let you know what the decisions are. If it's black smoke, no decision has been made, while white smoke means a new pope has been elected. Once the pope is elected, a top cardinal announces his name from St. Peter's Basilica. When will the papal conclave start? It usually happens 2 or 3 weeks after the death or resignation of the sitting pope. This allows for a 9-day mourning period and for cardinals to make their way to the Vatican from around the world. The 2013 conclave that elected Pope Francis, the first pontiff from South America, began just 12 days after the resignation of his predecessor, Benedict. How long does it take to elect the Pope? The process can take days, weeks, even longer, depending on how divided the cardinals are. So the cardinals are divided over who they think should be the Pope. They have not consulted the one person they say they follow the most, which is God. That you say you follow God. The Pope talks directly to him, for crying out loud. You're his intercessory person. And you are trying to convince me that this might take forever because the cardinals are divided over who they should pick. Okay. Each day, the conclave can hold up to 4 rounds to voting to try and to achieve the required 2/3 majority. If after 33 rounds there is still no decision, the top 2 cardinals face off in a runoff vote. Why not just go straight to that? The elections of the last 3 popes have been relatively quick, with each lasting only several days. But historically, elections have sometimes dragged on much longer, with the papal conclave that elected Pope Gregory X in 1271 taking nearly 3 years due to fierce political wrangling. I'm going to let that part set in real quick. They took 3 years to decide because of political wrangling. So we're going to go to the people that they have come down with as options for the Pope, at least those who think the options are and who they are. One of the options is this individual, a man by the name of Pietro Porolin, Italian. Before his tenure as Secretary of State, Porolin worked in the diplomatic services of the Holy See for 30 years, where his assignment included terms in Nigeria, Mexico, and Venezuela, as well as more than 6 years as Under Secretary of State for Relations with States. Again, this is more of a political appointment, not a biblical one, which is why I keep telling people to consider these people Christian is asinine. They are not. We're going to go down here to see something that I'm looking for specifically. I'm looking for his early days to see something real quick, because I don't really care about his positioning and shaking hands and talking to any political entities and all that stuff. I really don't care. Personal life. He speaks Venetian and Italian, fluent English and French, and near native Spanish. Okay, so now we know that we have one option. The secondary option is this guy here. Fridolin Ambogo Bensungo. This is the, I'm assuming, Congolese one. I'm assuming people are, this is what I've read so far. People are worried about him being put in there because everyone's going to think it's racist. And that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. But he served as a parish priest and a professor before his episcopal career. And since becoming a bishop, he has been a leading voice among his conferees for national peace. Pope Francis raised him to the rank of cardinal in 19 and 23. He became president of the Symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa and Madagascar. He is a member of the Council of Cardinals. He was born in Boto. He became a priest in 1960 and prepared for the priesthood by studying philosophy and theology. He was ordained in 88. John Paul II appointed him. He received his episcopal consecration in 2005. His history is mostly based in Africa. They won't have anything else about him there. The other person that's another option for it is this individual, Raymond Leo Burke. They're all really old, too, by the way. He's born in 1948. A canon lawyer, Burke is perceived as a voice of traditionalism among prelates of the Catholic Church. He established a reputation as a conservative leader while serving in La Crosse and in St. Louis. Burke is a major proponent of the Tridentine Mass, having frequently offered it and conferred ordinations on traditionalist priests. He has criticized what he sees as deficiencies in the post-1969 Mass of Paul VI. He is frequently seen as the de facto leader of the church's conservative wing by some mainstream media outlets. I want to break down these people for a very specific purpose, so just bear with me while we do this. Yeah, I think it is essential that we deal with this like this, okay? The other one is a man by the name of Luis Antonio Tagle. And he is Asian, weird enough. He, too, is one of those that they consider liberal. He prefers to be called by his name Chito rather than by his clerical title. He has been involved in many social issues in the Philippines, with emphasis in helping the poor while defending the Catholic Church's position on abortion, contraception, and what he has called practical atheism. Practical atheism. Dubbed as the Asian Francis, he is often seen as the representative of the Catholic Church progressive wing. He has criticized the Catholic Church for using harsh words to describe LGBTQ people as well as divorced and remarried Catholics, who he believes should be allowed to receive Holy Communion on a case-by-case basis. And then our last one that we'll look at is this guy here, Matteo Zuppi. He's an Italian prelate and he of the Catholic Church. He has been an archbishop from 2015. He was raised to the rank of cardinal in 19, born in Rome. I want to see what his social part. He worked with the community of San Indigio, Catholic lay association devoted to ecumenism and Catholic and conflict resolution. Zuppi was one of 4 mediators of the 2-year-long Rome-based peace negotiations that resulted in the Rome General Peace Accords and helped end the civil war in Mozambique in 1992. In recognition of what he has made an honorary citizen of that country, Zuppi has traveled to Turkey in 1993 and attempted to secure the release of 2 Italian tourists held by Kurdish rebels. As you can tell, a lot of this has to do with what you call social issues. Social issues. All of it social. In 2018, he had contributed an essay of the Italian translation of James Martin, Building a Bridge. He wrote that it was useful for encouraging dialogue as well as reciprocal knowledge and understanding in the view that of a new pastoral attitude that we must seek together with our LGBT brothers and sisters, and that it will help LGBT Catholics feel more at home in what is, after all, their church. You know, this entire debacle, since I mean, the entirety of the papacy, I mean, is one that if you were to look at this with intelligent eyes, you will understand one very important thing. Them using the word church is a misplaced use of the word, because they're not one. They're not even remotely resembling. They might call themselves an assembly. I can go with that. You're an assembly. But as far as trying to use the title of the church or even calling yourself holy, that's not even up for debate. You're not at all holy, especially with what you've already tried to accomplish. The entirety of the Roman Empire now come to rest at the Vatican, which is what I call it. It is a Roman Empire that is pretty much living right now in the Vatican. Because I still do believe that they do a lot of the stuff that the Roman Empire at the height of their rulership was doing. They more than likely have a bunch of bathhouses in there, and they do a lot of the stuff that the Roman Empire and all of the soldiers were known for doing, up to and including things of the homosexual nature. I have no equivocations about stating that. So I want to look at one thing, now that we've covered what the process is, who they've selected. Now we're going to look at something to see whether or not, provably, the Catholic Church and their selection of their Pope is a biblical position. Okay? Whether it's a biblical position. I know people will tell me that the papacy is different than being a teacher or a bishop or anything like that. And there are some that choose not to be, and kind of like the apostles, a lot of them, some of them were unmarried. Some of them didn't have children. But that does not exempt the criteria from being looked at. So we are going to look at that specifically. Okay? So when we look at 1 Timothy 3, here's a trustworthy saying: whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him, and he must do so in a manner worthy of respect. He must not be a recent convert, or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. He must also be of good reputation with outsiders so that he will not fall into disgrace into the devil's trap. So let me ask this. Have any of the popes done that? No. In fact, they have decided to forbid marriage for those positions. Now, remember, in the book, it talks about people who are by eunuch by choice, those who are born eunuchs, and those who become them. It doesn't say anything about coercion into being a eunuch, does it? No. Like at all. But that's what they do. It's all coercion. Titus 1. The reason I left you in Crete was so that you might put in order what was left unfinished and appoint elders in every town as I directed you. An elder must be blameless, faithful to his wife, a man whose children believe and are not open to the charge of being wild and disobedient. Please remember that. Since an overseer manages God's household, he must be blameless, not overbearing, not quick-tempered, not given to drunkenness, not violent, not pursuing dishonest gain. Rather, he must be hospitable, one who loves what is good, who is self-controlled, upright, holy, disciplined. He must hold firmly to the trustworthy message as it has been taught, so that he can encourage others by sound doctrine and refute those who oppose it. Qualifications listed. Okay, should be easy to understand. None of those traits do any of the Catholics that are in leadership positions possess. Not one. Not a single one. In fact, they groom people for these positions and then pick them without God. So I don't see how this could even remotely be called a church. And I don't see how any of this could even remotely be something that people look up to and wait in anticipation for. Like at all. What I do predict is coming, though, is whoever they pick next will be a precursor of type to what we've all been waiting for at the end times, which is indeed the Antichrist. I do 100% believe, not know, believe that is where he will be seated. That is where he will come from, because right now the papacy has become very political. Here's what I'm talking about. The man that they're supposed to be looking for, that's supposed to be the Antichrist, is going to be able to make treaties with a bunch of people. The only place he can do that from and still have the stronghold of being religious of any kind would be the seat in the Vatican. That is the only location. And since it has become quite political already, and they're already starting to bring certain things to call it unity, including the accords that was written and signed in 2020 by the former Pope, and now deceased Pope, by making a one world religion, and they're having talks about having a one world government. The only real way to make the one world government and one world religion work hand in hand is to have somebody in the seat of what they consider something good, godly, mixed with somebody who is a political icon. The next person to go in there will have the stronghold of the political world, and he will have the stronghold of what people consider the Christian world. I'm not saying it is, I'm saying what they consider. So when you have that blend of somebody who knows how to talk to the masses that aren't believers and talk to the people who believe they're believers, you have the toxic mix of the Antichrist. And you have the perfect location for it. It's central to almost every one of the governments. It has its hand in every city state. Just about everywhere you look, you can find a Catholic. They're revered as people who can be negotiators. They speak almost every language that's possible. Many of them come from other places and they push the social agenda of the devil. So why wouldn't it work? They are known to be able to make certain conversations happen between countries. I have no doubt that before too long, you're going to see the Vatican's try to jump into the conflict that is in Israel and between Gaza. They already have a few of the people that are signing up to be this have had conversations with the leadership in the Gaza Strip. They've talked to them already. They've talked to Hamas. In fact, they've already, like I said, in the 2019 Accord, they've already found a way to bridge the Muslim faith with the so-called Catholic or Christian faith. Under the guise of what? Peace. He's supposed to make treaties, okay? Understand this. He's supposed to make treaties with a specific place and break it. The only possible way you can do that is to enable somebody that can reach across the spiritual world boundaries and the governmental role. The best location for that is not actual politics. It's not politics. It has to be a complete blend. But mind you, it has to be the kind of blend that people will accept. Right now, people are blaming, hear me, and I'm not joking about this. You can go to X right now and look for yourself. Just type in the death of the Pope and just watch. There are people now saying that the only reason the Pope died was because he was visited by J.D. Vance. And they cannot wait for the new Pope to be selected so that we can get back to business and find world peace. This is what they're looking for. The world peace to occur through an entity that they all of a sudden now are okay with. Which is why I keep telling people that this idea that Trump being the Antichrist is stupid. It's simply just stupid. Look at the timeline all you want. Look at his bloodline all you want. It does not make any sense based on the character of the Antichrist. Trump does not fit the bill whatsoever. Nobody likes the man. He does not know how to bring peace to people who are not peace ready. He can't be the Antichrist. No one's on the side that they're on is going to make a peace treaty with him, especially now in his last term. It's not going to happen. And he definitely will not make it to the rise of power globally to make any efficacious effect on global politics. He's not going to do it. It's not going to happen. I understand that people hate him and want him to be the Antichrist. It's not going to happen. The person that will be the Antichrist has certain traits and has certain reaches and can do certain things that he will never be able to accomplish at all. But the Vatican can. The Vatican has the money, the Vatican has the reach, and the Vatican has the neutrality to do it, both politically, socially, and religiously. That is the one office right now, the one office where it can be pulled off. That's the only spot. So this particular idea that the current administration here in America is going to be the linchpin for the Antichrist, I can see it in one way. He will help usher him in this one way. And this is not a knock. This is just a factual statement. The only way that I can attribute the Trump administration for issuing and ushering in the Antichrist is by bringing forth somebody who goes against what he's been pushing by introducing a global idea and calling it godly, by denouncing him as the devil. That's how he's going to help usher it in. They're going to try and make everything come across as godly, and he is anti that. We should, just like these popes are saying, these cardinals are saying, all you have to do is accept your LGBTQ LMNOP plus people into the church. How do you do that? By reforming it. You have to reform what you consider the church, which is what the world considers the Catholic faith, the church. You have to reform it by making sure that you introduce everything worldly into it, make it semi-social and political, so that when the person that they put there decides to go into the nations and makes deals with them under the guise of peace through God, it'll happen. And he has to have this religious power over people. Why? Because of the acts that he is going to do. He's going to be able to raise the dead. He's going to give life to this beast, one of the heads, mortally wounded. Only way you can pull that off is not as a political pawn. You have to pull that off as somebody who at least partially claims to know God. And the best spot for that is the Vatican. It was built, I believe, for that. It was 100% built for it. I'm not wishing for the demise of the Vatican at all, because it will be, for me, it will usher in what we've all been wanting and waiting for, which is the return of Christ. Now, on the flip side, the conversation we were just having about the qualifications, there are a few people who instantaneously have, and I can, without any really fear of backlash, I'm going to make sure I get this one right here. Okay. There are two big names right now in that's not a part of the Catholic faith that call themselves both bishop, and one calls himself a bishop and one calls himself an apostle. Now, remember this, in order to have those titles at all as a leader, to be able to do what they're doing, there are certain criteria that we talked about, did we not, that we just mentioned in the book. One in particular line is this: he must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him, and he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own family, how can he take care of God's church? Rephrased again in Titus, it says this. Let me see. Okay. He must be hospitable, one who loves what is good, self-control, upright, holy, disciplined. He must hold firm and trustworthy in the message. He must be blameless, husband, a man whose children believe. Listen to this: a man whose children believe and are not open to the charge of being wild and disobedient. We got that. It's biblical. Okay, that's in the book. Okay, we believe the book is the word of God. I'm hoping we all agree with that. Okay, if we all agree with that, let's look at two people in particular who I consider fall under the same vein as the Catholic Church. They came to power without any godly intervention. They decided they were going to have power and they took it. And they are not qualified to be in these positions at all, like not even remotely. Can anyone guess one of the two or both? They're both male. Okay, both male. Can you tell me which two specifically I'm thinking about? Anyone? Take a shot in the dark at least one of them. Give me a name. Anyone? I'll wait to see how many of you are right. Let's see. Nope, not Osteen. And mind you, these are people who consider themselves pastors, laymen, preachers, bishops, stuff like that. Name me. Jakes is one of them, yes. Who is the other? Who do you think is the other? Two pastors, that's what they call themselves, that are not qualified whatsoever based on what we just read. Nope, not Copeland either. He is disqualified for other reasons, but not. Gino Jennings. Now, Gino says that he is a pastor based on his meeting of God directly face to face. even though we've said that no one's seen him, but he says he has. He said God came to him directly. He met with the Son of God in his room. Okay, that's not the reason I'm not seeing him as qualified. Both of them have one thing in common, and a very big thing in common that is specifically spoken about in those two passages. And it has to do with their children. Both Gino and TD Jakes have gay sons. Both of them. So what does it say again? An elder must be blameless, faithful to his wife, a man whose children believe and are not open to the charge of being wild and disobedient. Let's look at the other translation of how it is. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him. If your son is gay, you are not qualified for any office of leadership. You're not. If you promote the gay lifestyle, you are not worthy of that position. And you're only that in name. You are not a pastor. You're not a bishop. You're not a leader. You're nothing. You are nothing. I don't care how good you think you can decipher the scriptures or how well you can talk. It is interesting to me. Very interesting to me. A lot of these people have this propensity to act as though what they speak on is gospel gold. I've told you before, the reasons why I have not put myself in that position or category is biblically based. I do not fulfill those criteria. I don't. I have children that are rebellious, and I have no problem saying that. I've never claimed to be the most perfect and wonderful father. I've gotten plenty of things wrong with my children. They're coming around, yes. They are wanting to find God, yes. But they can't. I am not held in the public light as beyond reproach. The criteria is very specific, very specific. It is specific for a reason. Very specific for a very specific reason. If you are going to go into that arena claiming what you claim, you better be sure that what you have in your house matches what it asks it to match. Do I have the ability to speak on scripture? Yes, because we all do. Some people may not be able to break it down verbally the right way, but they understand it. Doesn't make you less of a teacher than me or more of a teacher than me. And I don't mean myself to be better than anybody else in that arena, but I am not a pastor. I am not a bishop. I'm not an elder. I'm none of those things. I am simply a believer. I'm just a member of the body. I'm a vessel being used in some way, shape, form, or fashion to say the things that are just in the book that I show you, and you just go, it's for you to learn too. It is very, very, very crazy to me that most of these people um, still hold themselves in that position, even though they don't fit the bill. They don't fit the bill. People might see this video later on and consider this hateful. They might consider this anger. But I want you to debunk whatever I said about the church, the Catholic Church, that is, before you talk about how I spoke about them. I want you to take the scriptures that I brought forward and denounce those too when I speak about the other two that I mentioned. I want you to look at any of the other so-called pastors and see how their household is run. I want you to look at what they promote and tell me if I'm wrong. Better yet, tell me if I'm reading what the word said wrong. This vacancy of the Vatican throne is not necessarily about which pope, it's the timing. It's the current climate and time that we're in that the replacement matters. The replacement matters because the next pope that comes in, I believe, will be exactly or more liberal than the one Francis that just passed. He will be the one to codify most of the things and the statements he's made, including and up to about abortion, gay marriage, the homosexual agenda, all of it. He will be the one to codify it and match what the world's agenda is. Once he does that, depending on his age and depending on when he comes in, he will set the stage. Hear me out. I'm not saying that the next one in will be the Antichrist. What I'm saying is that the one coming will set the stage for the Antichrist to be seated. He could be. I don't know about the timing of that or his age. I do know that what they're planning, prepping people for, what they've been promoting, will be definitely something that the Antichrist can piggyback off of and master toward the world and say, look, not only can we have world peace politically, we can match world peace with a religion that everyone can benefit from. It won't be so separated like it's been, this Christianity thing. We won't even call it Christianity. We will call it something completely other. It'll be a God factor because we all have that God spark. It will push amongst the man's nature that you are not as bad as what our church used to tell you. We're not that bad. We're not there anymore. We have advanced. We have come forward out of that nonsensical and patriarchal area. We are no longer about that. We are progressing. And the world will take it and they'll run with it and they'll be happy about it. And the Pope and the papacy and the Vatican will have a more integral part in world affairs than ever before. And before too long, all the nations of the world will say to themselves, you know what? We may not be able to see eye to have a leader that sits in one specific country head of state location. But what we can do as a global society is have one man that has the religious grounding to do the right thing for nature and for mankind, that shares our ideals globally and politically, and have him sit in one spot that we all can eventually gather to. And it is not so polarized by its political groundwork. It is separate. And that one spot right now is ground zero, the Vatican. That's what I believe. Besides which, his title of Antichrist makes more sense to come from somebody religious, having seen the side of Christ they don't like. This is going to get crazier before it's all said and done. Some of us might still be here, some of us may not. Never know. We'll see. We'll find out eventually. But the way things are looking right now, it is definitely a setting the stage for the at least minimum the beginnings of the signs of the coming of that man of perdition. Many things are being set up. The groundwork is being laid. Everyone is getting prepped in their minds for a very specific thing. And that has always been spoken about since the times of Reagan, since the times, even as far back as Nixon, about this one world order, new world order. But you couldn't get that politically. You will never get that politically. Too many wars will be fought that way to get it. But if you can, in some way, shape, and form, craft a war against a mindset, you win. If you can craft a war against an ideal, not a political leaning, but use policies that are political to get it, you're in. You're in business. And they've already started that process now. We'll see who they pick. We'll see what they come up with. But nothing that the Catholic faith does right now is godly. And it was not meant to be. It has always been meant to do exactly what it's doing now, and that's pull people away from the actual church and make them believe that this, what they're doing, is the right way. It's the right way. Again, time will tell. Which is why I keep inviting people to get that relationship down. If you don't get that relationship, you might end up falling for stuff. You may not think you will, but somebody will introduce something to you that seems really nice. It'll feel good. It'll sound good. It'll be enticing enough spiritually. And you might fall yourself into a very bad place, which is why I tell you now, get right. Get yourself in that relationship. Even if the faltering of a mindset or a thought fleets, even if that happens, get your relationship right so you can get right back on track. The growing has to happen. Do it now while you have time. That's all I'm suggesting you do. Do it now while you have time. In any way, shape, form, or fashion, we'll be back on Wednesday. Again, Too Strong's been dropping some videos. Go check them out. Tomorrow, I'll be discussing a statement I heard from a friend through a grapevine, went to find it. And this is a factual statement the person made. It's one of our good friends, Paula White. I use that facetiously. She's not a good friend. We'll be talking about something she said. And I'll explain to you why it's important for us to cover it too. All right, just so you know. But just look out for it. It'll be tomorrow. We'll talk about Miss Paula White and what she said about God specifically. And that's the best part. My email address is right there. There's the email address plastered across the screen. Scrolling at the bottom is the link for if you want to help this platform financially. It's not a requirement. It's only the if. Consult with God about it. Don't just jump out and do stuff. Okay. I do need to meet, if anybody has a way or have interest in helping me secure the subscription to Zoom so we can stay on Zoom this coming Sunday, please email me and we can figure it out so I can subscribe and sign up for it so we can get that moving so we don't have to jump back and forth between StreamYard and Zoom. I want to stay on Zoom. It's easier. So if you can help with that, please let me know. Email me and we can work that out. Otherwise, if you just want to send anything through the Cash App, tag it with that Zoom label to know that it's going to go towards the Zoom monthly payment thing, so we can get 100 people plus in the room and not have to worry about it. So please, just if that's something that you can help with, I could use it to help with it. Just email me and let me know. Otherwise, if you're just trying to help with the platform itself, the Cash App link is right down there. We'll catch you guys later this week, tomorrow specifically, and for Savage Pictures as well tomorrow. Wisdom calls to you from the street, so please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.